Good evening and welcome. Tonight, there is nowhere you need to be, nothing you need to finish, nothing you need to solve. For a little while, the day can loosen its hold on you. The thoughts that followed you here can wait. They do not need your full attention now. They may drift to the edges. They may grow softer. They may rest until morning. This time is for rest. So let yourself settle in exactly as you are. If you need to move a little, you can do that now. You can shift your shoulders. You can adjust the blanket. You can smooth the pillow. You can let your body find the easiest shape for this moment. And when you are ready, allow your eyes to close. Notice the simple feeling of being supported. The bed beneath you is holding your weight. The room around you is still. The air touches your skin gently. Nothing is asking anything of you now. Take one slow breath in and let it go. Another easy breath in and out. No forcing, no effort, no need to do this perfectly. Just let the breath arrive and leave. Let your breathing become natural again. You do not have to breathe deeply to relax. You do not have to chase sleep. You do not have to make anything happen. You are only making a little more space for quiet. Notice your forehead. See if it can soften just a little. Notice your eyes resting softly behind their lids. Notice your cheeks. Notice your jaw. Let the muscles around your mouth become still now. Let the tongue rest comfortably. Feel how even a small softening in the face can send a quiet message through the whole body. A message that says, it is safe to rest. It is safe to loosen. It is safe to be still for a while. Bring your attention to your neck and shoulders. Many people carry the shape of the day there, the pressure, the unfinished thoughts, the little worries, the effort of holding everything together. But tonight, your shoulders do not need to hold so much. Let them drop a fraction, and then another fraction, as if warm water were slowly being poured over them, as if the night itself were placing a calm hand there. Now notice your arms, your upper arms softening, your elbows at ease, your forearms growing heavy, your hands resting with nothing to hold and nothing to do. If you like, imagine that your fingers are slowly uncurling around everything they carried today. No tasks now, no effort now, only rest. Bring your awareness to your chest, to notice. And now, for a moment, you do notice the simple kindness of breath, the steady work of the body, the quiet intelligence within you. Your body knows many things about rest. Your body remembers how to move towards sleep. You do not have to force that remembering. You only have to stop interrupting it. Now let your attention drift down through the center of your body, your ribs softening, your stomach unclenching, your lower back easing, the muscles around your hips loosening. If there is any place that still feels tight, you do not need to fight it. You do not need to make it disappear. Just notice it kindly and imagine the breath making more room around it. Inhale, making space. Exhale, letting go. Now bring your attention to your legs, your thighs growing heavier, your knees unbusy, your calves at rest, your ankles loose, your feet warm and quiet. Perhaps you notice a little tingling, perhaps a pleasant heaviness, perhaps almost nothing at all. Whatever you notice is fine. There is no perfect way to relax. There is only this gentle turning away from effort, this soft return to stillness. Now imagine that the room around you becomes dimmer in the mind, not darker in a frightening way, only softer. The edges of things blur a little. The day behind you grows more distant. The night opens like a wide blue fabric around you, calm and sheltering. And somewhere beyond your room, beyond your house, beyond the last familiar street, another city is moving more slowly now beneath the moon. A city of water and stone, a city of lamps and windows, a city of fairies crossing dark water, a city of warm bread before dawn, a city of quiet footsteps in sleeping streets. Tonight, when the time feels right, we will drift there together, but not yet. First, let yourself become a little heavier, a little quieter, a little farther from the busy surface of thought. If the mind wanders, that is all right. Minds wander, that is what they do. When you notice it wandering, there is nothing to fix. You may simply return to the sound of my voice, return to the feeling of being supported, return to this breath, return to this night. If you are still awake later, that is all right too. There is no failing here. This is not a test. This is not a task to complete. This is rest. And rest can begin long before sleep arrives. Now, as the body rests and the breath keeps its slow and faithful rhythm, we can begin. Tonight, we travel to Istanbul after dark, to a city where two continents rest beneath one sky, where the water keeps moving even in the quietest hours, where the lights on the hills shimmer softly in the Bosphorus, bakers rise before dawn, where ferries cross the night, where museum halls empty into silence, where tea begins to steam before morning. In this city, while many are sleeping, a few gentle souls continue their work. They move quietly through the dark blue hours. They warm ovens. They guide boats across black water. They unlock doors. They fold paper. They pour tea. They carry the city from night toward morning. And tonight, you do not need to hurry through this city. You do not need to remember every street. You do not need to remember every name. You only need to follow the softness of the night. The sounds are low. The lights are few. The air is cool. And the city, so full by day, is now calm enough for whispering stories. At this hour, Istanbul is made of layers of quiet. The first quiet lives in the water. The Bosphorus, dark and steady, moves between Europe and Asia with a slow confidence. It carries moonlight in broken silver lines. It brushes softly against stone embankments, against ferry docks, against boat hulls, against old steps worn smooth by generations of feet. Even in the deep hours of night, the water does not really sleep. It only changes its voice. By day, it glitters and chatters. By night, it hums, breathes, and glides. The second quiet lives in the hills. The streets rise and fold around one another. They are lined with apartments, tea houses, old walls, narrow stairways, shuttered shops, and balconies that still remember the daytime breeze. A few lamps still burn. A few windows remain lit. Most do not. From a distance, the neighborhoods look like constellations scattered over stone. And the third quiet lives in the people who remain awake. One of them is Mehmet. Before dawn, in a bakery tucked into a sloping street in Balat, Mehmet stands alone beside a long wooden table dusted lightly with flour. The room is warm already. The warmth feels especially rich against the cold blue dark outside. The windows are faintly fogged. Copper trays catch the oven light. A simple clock ticks on the wall, and somewhere near the back, dough is rising beneath cloth. Mehmet places both hands on the table for a moment and breathes in the scent of flour, yeast, warmth, and the coming morning. Then, very quietly, he begins. He presses the dough with the heel of his hand. He folds it inward. He turns it, and he presses again. The motions are steady and unhurried. He does not fight the dough. He listens to it through his fingertips. Some dough asks for patience. Some asks for one more fold. Some needs a little more warmth, a little more resting, a little more time. Mehmet likes that bread cannot be bullied. It reminds him that many good things answer only to patience. Outside, Balad is still. The old houses stand shoulder to shoulder on the steep street. Cats sleep on steps, on car hoods, and beneath awnings. The stones still remember the cold of the night. Inside, Mehmet shapes loaves, rounds dough, and lines trays in quiet order. Every few moments he glances toward the window. The darkness has not begun to lift yet. On a shelf near the register, there is a photograph of his father in the same bakery many years earlier. His father is smiling in the picture. One hand rests on a tray of bread. There is flour on his sleeve. Mehmet does not need to look at the photograph often. He knows it by heart. But in the quietest part of the morning, he sometimes feels that his father is still in the room somehow. He was taught here how to touch dough without rushing it, how to know by scent when the oven is ready, how to hear whether a crust cooled well, how to respect work that begins before applause. When Mehmet lifts the first trays into the oven, the bakery deepens into gold. And at the same hour, far below another hill, Emre stands at the helm of the first ferry of the morning. The dock lights reflect in the black water in long, trembling strokes. The boat is not full. A few passengers sit behind the windows in their coats. One man leans his forehead lightly to the glass. A woman holds a paper cup in both hands. A student with a backpack has already fallen half asleep in a corner seat. Emre likes these first crossings best. By daylight, the Bosphorus is beautiful but also busy, full of noise, full of schedules, full of engines and voices. Before dawn, it belongs to another temperament. It widens, it darkens, it breathes differently. Emre places a gloved hand on the wheel and looks ahead. The city lies on both sides like a dream not yet fully spoken. Domes rise in silhouette. Slender minarets point into the soft dark. Hills carry neighborhoods in stacked layers of shadow and light. Now and then, a gull calls somewhere over the water. The ferry pulls away. The dock slips backward. The water opens. Emre has worked the Bosphorus for many years, and still there are moments when it surprises him, not with drama, but with scale. The width of the sky over the strait, the hidden strength of the current below the surface, the way one shore seems to float while the other holds still, the way two continents can seem to lean toward one another in the dark. As a child, Emre used to wait for his father near the shoreline. He watched ferries come and go. He believed that anyone who crossed that water for a living belonged partly to the city and partly to the sea. He remembers the smell of diesel and salt. He remembers gulls circling above scraps of cement. He remembers the lights on the opposite shore looking impossibly far away. Now the ferry cuts a calm path through the dark, and Emre thinks, as he often does, that there are few better ways to witness a city than from its water before the day has fully claimed it. He sees a mosque dome holding a little moonlight. He sees apartment windows blinking awake one by one. He sees a tea shop owner dragging chairs inside. He sees the faint glow of a bakery on a hill. He does not know Mehmet by name, but he has eaten his bread more than once. The city is full of invisible connections like that. As the ferry continues, we leave Emre for a time and climb toward Sultanahmet. There, Layla walks alone through a museum corridor that once formed part of a palace complex. The building is not entirely dark. Night never settles in museums the way it does in houses. There are always low lights, always climate systems humming softly, always the quiet attention given to old things that must be preserved. The air is cool and carefully kept. Stone floors hold the chill. Glass cases reflect dim lamps and the pale outline of Layla as she moves. She works in conservation. By day, the galleries are filled with visitors. Voices rise and fall in many languages. Footsteps scatter sound over stone. But by night, after the last tour has gone, the objects seem to change. Not because they come alive in any magical way, only because silence gives them back their gravity. An old bowl is no longer one beautiful item among many. It becomes a surviving hand extended through centuries. A page of calligraphy becomes breath turned into ink. A robe stitched with gold thread becomes the patience of the unseen person who sewed it. Layla moves slowly through the gallery, carrying a small flashlight she rarely needs. She pauses before a display of illuminated manuscripts. Even under museum lighting, their colors still hold astonishing depth. Blue like midnight water, gold like trapped morning, red like old pomegranate skin. She studies one repaired margin for a moment. The work has held beautifully. She smiles. The smile is small, almost private, the kind of smile that comes when care has done its work quietly and well. Layla has always preferred old things that survive gently, not treasures of conquest, not loud relics of power, but objects shaped by ordinary hands. A cup, a pen case, a textile border, a note in faded ink. They remind her that history is not only made by rulers and battles, It is also made by weavers, by bakers, by ferrymen, by caretakers, by those who kept going while the centuries changed around them. She turns off the flashlight. For a moment, she simply stands in the low museum light and listens. There is the hum of the air system, the faint tick of a distant clock, the near silence of paper, wood, stone, and glass sharing one dark hour. Then she walks on. Meanwhile, near Galata Bridge, Hassan is setting up his tea cart. He arrives before the sky changes. His cart is small, red, slightly worn at the corners, polished in the places where hands touch it most often. He takes quiet pride in keeping it clean. The brass samovar gleams in the dock light. A stack of tulip-shaped glasses catches the faint glow. A jar of sugar cubes waits beside a tin of spoons. Hassan works without wasting movement. He fills the samovar. He checks the flame. He arranges the glasses. He wipes the counter, though it does not need wiping. He likes readiness. The bridge feels different at this hour. By day, it is crowded with motion. Cars, buses, footsteps, fishermen, vendors, cameras, voices. But before dawn, it belongs to fewer people. Cleaners, drivers, delivery workers, fishermen, early commuters, and the men who know how to make strong tea while the world is still rubbing sleep from its eyes. Hassan loves tea, but even more than tea, he loves what tea makes possible. A pause, a warming of hands, a reason to stand still, a small exchange without hurry. He grew up near the Black Sea coast and came to Istanbul when he was 20. At first, the city felt too big, too fast, too indifferent. But over time, he learned that cities become livable through routine, through familiar corners, through repeated mornings, through knowing when the bread arrives and when the sky over the water first turns silver. A taxi slows near the curb. The driver raises 2 fingers in greeting. Hassan lifts his chin in return. He opens the tin of tea leaves. The scent rises warm and dark. Farther uphill, under a single yellow lamb, Aylin is trimming stems in a flower stall not yet open to the public. The buckets around her are filled with cold water and sleeping color. White lilies, pale roses, carnations with ruffled edges, bundles of eucalyptus, sprigs of rosemary that release scent when touched. Aylin loves this hour because flowers ask for gentleness and morning gives it. She removes bruised leaves, cuts stems at an angle, replaces cloudy water with clean water. She works as if she is waking the stall one quiet breath at a time. Soon people will come asking for bouquets, for anniversaries, for apologies, for hospital visits, for birthdays, for graves, for tables that need brightening, for homes that need cheering. But right now, the flowers belong only to the hour before sunrise. Aylin wraps brown paper around a loose bundle of white blooms. She ties it with twine, sets it aside. Her mother taught her to sell flowers, not by urging customers, not by making things sound grander than they are, but by paying attention. Some people need color, some need fragrance, some need something simple they can hold without having to explain why they bought it. Aylin understands this. She has learned that flowers are rarely just flowers. They are messages carried in silence. As she works, the city begins to shift almost imperceptibly. Not brighter yet, only thinner at the edges of darkness. In Balat, the first trays of bread are nearly ready. On the Bosphorus, Emre guides the ferry toward another dock. In the museum, Layla turns one last corner of the gallery. Near the bridge, Hassan pours the first glass of tea, and beneath the lamp, Aylin lifts another stem and trims it cleanly. None of them are thinking of one another, not directly, and yet they are already connected. The driver who greets Hassan may buy bread from Mehmet later. A visitor who passes through Layla's museum may stop by Aylin's stall in the afternoon. A commuter warming his hands on a tea glass may cross the water on Emre's ferry before lunch. The city keeps weaving these threads whether anyone notices or not. And perhaps that is one of the soft comforts of cities at night. So much depends on people who are rarely seen, people who prepare, people who maintain, people who arrive early, people who keep small promises to strangers they will never meet. At last, the bakery door opens. A ribbon of warm air slips into the street. The scent of bread follows it. Mehmet sets fresh loaves in the front display. The crusts tick softly as they cool. At the dock, Emre eases the ferry inward. Ropes are thrown. The engine lowers its voice. Passengers rise slowly from their seats and step into the pale beginning of day. In the museum, Layla pauses at a tall window. The sky over the city has turned from black to deep blue. She watches that change for a breath or two. Then she turns back to her quiet work. Hassan hands a glass of tea to the taxi driver. Steam rises between them. No long conversation is needed. The warmth says enough. Aylin carries a bucket of flowers to the front of the stall. The petals catch the earliest light. And now the city begins to wake in earnest. More windows brighten, more steps sound on stone, more engines begin. More keys turn in locks. The hidden hours are ending. The visible day is beginning. But for a little longer, the softness remains. The quiet work remains. The last blue shade of night remains in the water. And you, passing gently through this city of bread and fairies and lamps and tea, do not need to go any farther than this. You have crossed enough water for one night. You have climbed enough streets. You have stood in enough quiet rooms. Now the city can continue without you. Mehmet will keep baking. Emre will guide the ferry onward. Layla will tend to old and delicate things. Hassan will pour another glass of tea. Aylin will set flowers where daylight can find them. And you can rest. You can let the streets grow softer. Let the water move farther away. Let the lights blur. Let the voices of the waking city fade into distance. Take one easy breath in and let it go. Another gentle breath in and out. The ferry has crossed. The bread is warm. The tea is steaming. The flowers are waiting for the light. And somewhere in Istanbul, morning is arriving quietly. You do not have to follow it. You do not have to rise with it. You may stay here in the gentle blue hush a little longer. Here, where everything is safe enough to soften. Here, where nothing more is asked of you tonight. Only rest, only quiet, only the slow drifting away from one thought and then the next. Now the story can grow quieter and quieter still. There is nothing more to follow, nothing more to picture, nothing more to hold. The city is fading into distance. The water is farther away now. The lights are softer. The streets are quiet again. Let everything become a little dimmer, a little farther, a little lighter in your mind. Take one slow breath in and let it go. Another easy breath in and out. You do not need to listen closely now. You do not need to stay with every word. You can drift. You can rest. If a thought appears, let it pass. If another thought appears, let that one pass too. No effort, no reaching, no need to do anything at all. Only this breath, only this softness, only rest.